And to those members of Congress who question my authority to make our immigration system work better, or question the wisdom of me acting where Congress has failed, I have one answer. Pass a bill.
All right, joining the table, we have Republican representative from Illinois and member of the Ways and Means Committee, Congressman Aaron Schock, along with columnist for Yahoo News, political analyst Jeff Greenfield. Jeff's latest book, If Kennedy Lived, the First and Second Terms of President John F. Kennedy, An Alternate History, is now out in paperback. To have you back.
Nice to be here.
All right, let's start with you. Big picture. What's the president doing with what he did last night, the action?
I can't assess motives. I don't know whether he's sticking an eye in the Republican Party or not. But it's sure, if he's not intending to do it, it sure happened. And one of the things that I think, if you step back a minute, is to me, this is having the same kind of impact as some of the president's less fortunate comments on his health care plan, in which the debate almost immediately is moving away from the substance of what he's doing to how he did it. And in the same sense that his statement, if you like your doctor, if you like your plan, you can keep it, dominated the discussion of health care.
Right.
What we're hearing now is a debate about whether he exceeded his constitutional authority. And I think the idea that this is somehow, when I hear people talk about, well, you know, cooler heads will prevail.
Right.
I don't believe that for a minute. I don't think we've seen it for the last 6 years, by and large. I think in the wake of this election and this act, which whether it's legal or not is certainly provocative, is going to make the less calm members of your caucus absolutely enraged. And so I know I don't mean to come out here on the eve of Thanksgiving and be pessimistic, but I'd bet the under on any meaningful accomplishment over the next several months on
Let's
this or
ask
any other.
A member of Congress, will cooler heads prevail?
Well, I think Jeff's right. It is provocative because it's unprecedented. The president referenced other presidents that have done executive orders. A no on
cooler heads prevailing?
Well, on what issue? I mean, I think
on this issue,
on immigration.
Will there be a bill? Will there be an outcome that is conciliatory?
Well, I think the president has blown up the trust necessary for us to negotiate with him in good faith. The speaker on the House side has been very clear about his step-by-step approach that we were in the process of doing last year in the House before Harry Reid said, look, we're not taking up your bills in the Senate. And so it kind of stopped any progress in the House. Our hope was now with the Republican Senate that not only immigration reform, but the other 380 bills that we passed with bipartisan votes in the House will get through the Senate and finally get to the president's desk so we can negotiate with him.
But Josh Earnest just said on our airwaves, you know, he'll rip it up if you guys come up with a bill.
Any immigration bill? The president said last night, if you don't like what I've done, pass a bill. So I think Congress should. I've been one pushing forward on the House side. It's not going to be a behemoth, massive bill like the Senate passed. We're going to do a border security bill like we did in the Homeland Security that passed unanimously this past year, a visa expansion program, deal with the DREAM Act kids. Eric Cantor was leading that effort before his defeat. So we have solutions to these problems. The problem was Harry Reid said, we're not taking your bill, and the House said, we're not taking the Senate bill, and we were at a standstill last year, which is why things didn't get done. And our hope now is after the election, we now have the ability to get our ideas, while they may not be perfect, our ideas to the president's desk so we can finally negotiate with him.
Jack.
Very simple question. Is the Republican House caucus and the Republican Senate caucus now more or less charitably disposed for comprehensive immigration? I would argue less.
After his actions?
After the election, the new senators, the new Republican senators coming in, from what I saw covering some of these people, they are not exactly inclined to embrace anything approaching comprehensive immigration reform, and I think some of the new House members are the same, and they're the ones, I think, who are going to get the most attention, fairly or not. Last night, if I may, watching your network and Fox.
Oh, that must have been fun.
Well, CNN was covering college costs, which is a whole other issue. But so who did Hannity book? Michelle Bachmann and Louis Gohmert. Didn't book you, did he? And I think that's...
Well, that's not his fault.
I'm not...
I mean, don't pick on Aaron. He's a good guy.
I'm sympathizing with Aaron. That's not who these folks are turning to. And I don't know, I can't understand...
But I think that feeds to your point about the method at which the president is using that's going to be this distraction to getting something done. Last night, in listening to the president, what was aggravating about the methodology to the president's executive action, to the systematic points that he talked about, leading with border security, leading with wanting to do immigration reform, talking about protecting American families, not felons? What was aggravating to your ear about that approach?
Well, what was aggravating is I agreed with a lot of what he said, but it doesn't justify his behavior and his action. The reality is that he's not just dealing with people who are here illegally. His executive action attempts to do legislatively what he wants Congress to do, and that is circumventing the legislative powers and the separation of powers of our Congress. He talks about a visa program for people that are in college that he wants to keep. He talks about border security, additional border security. So this isn't just another Clinton, Reagan, Bush-esque type of executive order. This is very sweeping. And so what was aggravating from my standpoint was, Mr. President, if you really want to do those step-by-step issues you just outlined, then come work with Congress.
What's the part, Jeff, from your, covering presidents over decades and the strategies for negotiation and the behind-the-scenes part? Is there something missing from this process? Was the president's action last night provocative because it missed something else?
I think what's missing is what has changed completely in Washington. Every time I hear the talk about, well, this is what Reagan and Tip O'Neill used to do.
Right.
This is what what Clinton and Newt Gingrich used to do.
Everything looks good in retrospect, though.
Well, that's part of it. You're absolutely right. But even beyond that, there's a sea change here. And, part of the thing that I was thinking about was back 5 years ago when the Republicans drew lines in the sands in the first weeks after Obama's inaugural. A lot of Democrats are saying this is going to be good for us because the American public doesn't like obstructionism. Take a look at the last two midterms. Has obstructionism hurt the Republican Party? No.
Oh, I think it has. Shutting down the gut. You think it hasn't? There hasn't been.
Take a look at the midterms.
Look, we've passed 380 bills out of the House. Bipartisan votes. The Senate last cycle voted 21 times. I'm tired of hearing about how Republicans have been obstructionists when we've passed 380 bills out of the House, 380 that were bipartisan. Right. Senate's refused to take them
Congressman Aaron Schock with the last word. Jeff Greenfield, always great to see you. You can come back more often. Willie Geist sits down with Brooke Shields next on Morning Joe.